I'm Lucy Edwards, Director of Client Success at VHT Studios. And today I am in this breathtaking apartment with stunning views in Miami with one of the top agents, John Wilson. And John Wilson is part of Douglas Elliman, Boca Raton office. Hi, John.
Hi, Lucy. This is great. We've been speaking on the phone about this for a while, so I was really looking. Matter of fact, I told you when I woke up this morning, it was the first thing I thought of.
Well, that is great. Let's talk about it. The apartment is absolutely fabulous, and I understand you share it with your partner.
Yeah, Sonata Ajam is, I work with her, and this is one of our listings. It's in Jade Signature. The amazing thing about this apartment is obviously there's natural light everywhere, but the whole interior is done by Artefacto in Miami. Most people know who they are. And my client invested over $1 million in the interior. And it's amazing. And I love being in here. And when we talked about doing this, I was like, I'm very comfortable here. Let's do it here.
Yes, and that is absolutely one of a kind with all the views. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And I would like to talk about your reputation and your brand. One of the reasons you got that listing because your reputation is stellar. So let's talk about reputation and your brand.
Well, the brand, I think, just comes from my attitude, and I'm always smiling. But it really serves back to something that I was very fortunate. I was raised by my grandparents and my parents, and they told my brothers and sister and I that life is not all about you. Life is about others and serving others. And people hear that and it's not serving as a servant, it's serving others, it's helping other people. And when we start doing that, when we take on a listing, just like this listing, I'm serving this client. I'm going to give it 100%. And it's sort of the attitude that I have. When we went into real estate, we were all about servicing the clients, not about commission. It means nothing. I'll give you 100 examples as we talk about that. And that servant's heart, I think, really pushes into the reputation of, and the other part about it that I'll say is I'm a very blessed person. I was on the roof of a big building the other night with a famous photographer who was taking pictures of Miami. And I loved his attitude. He's in his 80s and he goes, I've been lucky. He goes, I've been really lucky. I've been lucky. I'm so blessed. God has blessed me more than I ever imagined. Answering your question, the whole reputation thing is because I'm so overjoyed and happy every day to lead the life. And I think that comes out and people pick up on it.
And that definitely shows, even before I met you in person or when we spoke on the phone, that positive attitude, that passion, and the desire to just be there for people. I think it just shows all the way through. So that is
and the other thing is I love what I do. I mean, look where we're at. Look, it's like how could you not be happy every day in living in Florida and being in the real estate business? So I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. Referrals. As a matter of fact, the way I met you, I was in New York and in New York City and Long Island, and everyone is like, oh, you have to interview John Wilson. You didn't interview John Wilson yet. You are in Florida. What's wrong with you? So I was referred by several, actually, agents to meet with you and to have that interview. So referral business is extremely important. And everyone knows you in New York, and you have a lot of business from New York. So let's talk about that.
So when I got into real estate, this sounds crazy, but I realized immediately, and again, it's going to sound crazy, but it's not about the clients. You need them. Obviously, we're in real estate. We need clients. But it was about agents and building relationships with agents in every aspect of the business. Referrals, yes, but also when you're negotiating. I go to any event there is in Miami, in Palm Beach, in Boca Raton. I want to meet new agents. And as you meet them and then you negotiate, it's easier to negotiate with a friend. So I realized that I worked on Wall Street for 25 years. I have a lot of relationships up there. So as soon as I got into real estate, I started going up there all the time. And this sounds funny, but I would go to the Madison Avenue office at 575. I'd walk in and I would go desk to desk. Hi, I'm John Wilson. I'm with Douglas Elliman at Boca Raton. I'd like to get to know you. Some people were responsive. Some weren't responsive. They looked at me like I was a little crazy. That's okay. But I was in the Hamptons. And a man that was an Elliman agent, older gentleman, says, John, if you want to do this right, one of the best advice I ever got from someone, he goes, if you want to do this right, he goes, don't just come up every 6 months. He goes, you got to come up more often and build relationships. So then all of a sudden I started going up just over and over. And all three of my sons live in New York, so I get to see them also. But I would go to New York and I would network in Miami. And right now my business is from referrals. It's either referrals from agents, it's referrals from a client, but it's all referrals. So referrals are the key to this business, and 90% of my business is coming right now is from referrals.
And that is fabulous. That also shows, because everyone I was talking to, and they're asking me, you didn't meet John Wilson yet? So that goes back to your popularity, your great relationships, and everyone calls you their friend.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to see my friend, John Wilson.
I love that. That makes my day hearing that.
Yes, so that is indeed, that's the true story. Here we go.
It's so funny. People ask me, and it's a term used in real estate, are you a closer? I'm not a closer. I close a door. I'm a relationship builder. Lisa and I's whole business model is about relationships. Going back to what we started. Serving others, caring about others, putting them first. You can't fake that. Well, you could try to fake it, but no one's buying it.
Yep.
It's a natural thing inside of both of us, and it's really, really helped us succeed in a tremendous way in this business.
Looking at today's market, it's so unusual. The condos, the housing market. And during the last year and a half, we went through ups and downs. And even, let's just talk about Florida with COVID. Everyone wanted to move out of condos, and everyone wanted to have a house. But now, when you have someone from Midwest or New York moving here, they would love to move to condo as long as they're not in New York when it's cold and they're just hooked up there. So let's talk about that.
So when COVID first hit, I knew that single family homes were going to increase. Because I experienced it. When COVID hit, look at me, the energy I have. Could you imagine me being locked up in the house under quarantine? You'd want to run. But I started fixing my house up and putting lights in the backyard. And because we were going to spend a lot of time there, and we were getting calls from clients in condos in Florida, find me a house, rent me a house. I want to buy a house. I feel trapped here. It'll never be the same after COVID. People will never look at their house the same. We look at it totally differently. We want large yards. We want more space. And then as the market proceeded, then people started going to condos, and you're 100% correct. From New York, yes, a lot of business comes from New York, but I have business coming from Boston, the Midwest, Philadelphia, all over the place. And then the condo market really took off. And it was funny because everybody was like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I knew that Florida was going to benefit. How could it not benefit? We didn't go, like my sons were in New York. They weren't having the lifestyle that I was, riding my bike with Lisa and hanging out in my yard. They were pretty much locked up. So I thought Florida would be a spot. And the condo market now has taken off for sure right now. And matter of fact, we'll talk about a little bit later about new development. I think that's a big, big area that's going to boom also in the market. As far as how I dealt with buyers and sellers during that market, really probably not much different than I usually do. The only thing that I found, and it was crazy, but I'm so used to dealing with people that have friends or came here on vacation. So they knew Fort Lauderdale, they knew Boca. We were starting to deal with someone. It's like, I've never been to Florida. Like they didn't know where Fort Lauderdale was. They didn't know, like they knew Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, but they didn't know where to go. And so Lisa and I started something we've always done in real estate. We call them fact-finding tours. So we have a Suburban, and we would put a cooler in the back seat in between our clients. And in that cooler would be water, sparkling water, beer, wine, in case you wanted to have a little fun. There'd be snacks. And literally, we would say to the client, you are under no pressure to buy anything. What we're going to do today is we're going on a fact-finding mission to find the area that means most and what's most important to you. So we would take them to Fort Lauderdale. This is the beach. This is downtown. This is this restaurant. We'd take them to Pompano. We said if they found a place, great, but there was no pressure to make a purchase until they were comfortable. Back to service, back to putting others first.
Back to investing in your reputation.
Yep. And so what happened was the clients loved it. We had one of the wealthiest people from New York in the back of my Suburban. He's like, John, this is amazing doing this. And so it made it fun. And the funny thing is some people bought on those trips. Other people didn't. I had a lady from Boston. She loved it. She picked the area to live. It's my neighborhood, and Lighthouse Point is where she wanted to be. But we couldn't find anything because of tight inventory. And then she ended up purchasing a gorgeous home on the water in Lighthouse Point. And so it didn't change a lot, but we found that new fact finding and people love it. And I'm going to continue to do that if you're not from the area, not familiar with it.
That is a great idea, actually. And you are building the relationship. Yeah. And even if they will not buy anything right now from you, they will refer you to their friends.
Yeah.
You got to see John Wilson.
Well, and it goes back to that thing, like I was saying, I'm a relationship builder. If the client's comfortable to move, I'm so excited and happy about that. But if they're not, you have to be comfortable. I mean, are you going to be nervous when you're spending $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million? I tell my clients, of course you're nervous. It's like I was nervous when I got married to Lisa. 35 years later, I'm glad I did it. And so it's the same thing here, that you have to be comfortable. And it's so important for us, for our clients, to feel comfortable and to feel good of what they're doing. Relationship builds trust. We want our clients to trust us. So that's kind of our method. And it's worked well for Lisa and I, for sure.
Just recently, the world had changed. In Florida, in condo market with Champlain Towers, it is extremely sad. It's beyond being sad. But I just want to make sure that there is a lesson to be learned. If those people vanished, we need to learn the lesson that it will never, ever repeat again. So let's talk about the trust that your potential buyers have in condo market, whether it's in new condominiums or going back 20, 30 years. Can you get into it a little deeper?
Yeah, I get up early in the morning and which we'll get into a little bit later on, but I looked, after I have like a ritual I do, and again, we'll talk about that later, but I don't pick up my phone or do an email or anything, but I looked at my phone after I was done and it looked like part of the building was down. I had no clue the whole building went down. And then as my wife got up, and because I don't really watch a lot of TV, she was like, oh my God, the whole building came down. So I was here during Hurricane Andrew. It was probably it was a Category 5 storm. It was supposed to Lisa and I were in our first home. She was pregnant with my son. His name's Andrew. Had no idea with Hurricane Andrew. That was nothing to do with it. We just bought our first home. Hurricane Andrew's coming. It's a Category 5. It's headed right towards Pompano Beach, where we live. But what it does is it hooks at the end and it goes into down into Miami. And at that time, I worked on Wall Street, and we loaded a 26-foot Penske truck with diapers, with water, with supplies, and drove down to Miami to help these people. And I pulled up to a neighborhood. It looked like an atomic bomb went off. There was nothing but foundations and toilets. The houses were gone. The reason I'm getting into that is because that happened because our building code was not strong enough. And so Hurricane Andrew changed the whole Florida building code to where we have probably the toughest building code in the United States of America. What happened in Champlain Towers, there's going to be good to come out of this. The inspections are going to go away. 40 years is ridiculous, and they should have been sooner. In older condos, though, what I'm advising, as soon as that happened, what do you think people ask? How old is that condo I'm looking at? So when we understood that, but we would make sure every time Lisa and I show a condo, what's your reserves? Because Champlain Towers did not have a big reserves. You reserve funds for future repairs. What's your reserves? What's this? So we're going to find that in the building, in the older buildings, there's going to be more inspections for sure. I do think their HOAs are going to go up because I think their insurance is going to go up because it's an older building. But I also think it drives business into newer condos also. Those buildings will be there. That was unusual. I've never seen that happen before. There's buildings in Europe. My friend Benjamin's from Paris said that there's been buildings for thousands of years up. It was an unusual situation, a tragic situation. Thousands of years
probably will stay here another 1,000 years, but not the one that was built 25 years ago.
Yeah. But I think it'll be good. I think the whole building code will change towards condos. I think inspections will get better. I think the building will have to have more reserves. But I do think the HOAs in older buildings are going to go up because their insurance is definitely going to go up.
Let's talk about new developments. Because of what happened in the past, because of hurricanes that are so popular in Florida, we understand, all of us understand that something has to change. The new code, the new structure, the new policy in place. So what would you say about new developments? Because like Peter and I, we now live in Fort Lauderdale area, and every morning we go to greet the sunrise, which is absolutely stunning.
Living in Florida.
Every morning it's beautiful. And when we drive, we try to take different paths and different roads to get acquainted with the area. And there is so much new construction, residential, condos, even I couldn't say skyscrapers, it's not really New York, but
very tall buildings.
Rather large and tall buildings. So can you get more into it for us to understand what's the new development in Florida?
Well, Florida's been about new development forever. My grandfather came here in 1962 and started buying pre-construction. My dad came here and did it. I grew up on the beach. My dad would buy condos pre-construction, have the building go up. We'd live there for a while, take that money, roll it to the next one. It just keeps going and going and going. So that's been part of Florida forever. It'll continue. I think that new development's going to really go hard in Florida, more than it has now. And there's a lot of new development right in the area that we're in right now. There's a lot, but there's going to be more demand for Florida. There's going to be more demand. And the high-end market, the high-end condo market is all about amenities. People want services. They want all the amenities. And that's why you're seeing the buildings just have more amenities, more luxurious. That's going to continue in all of South Florida. Personally, I think that Miami is going to really take off when Europe starts to open up, when other countries start to open up, because we have a lot of clients in Italy, we have clients in France, and they want to get out of there and they want to come to Florida and live in Florida because they've been locked up so much. So I think new development will continue. I think the projects will be more beautiful, but I'm really starting to market and focus more in Miami. I think Miami has tons of new development. Element's built on, a big part of Element is new development. It's a big, big profit center for us. I think it'll continue. I think the buildings will become bigger. The buildings will be more luxurious. And I personally am super excited to get more involved in new development in the future, especially in South Florida, Miami.
What's your take about East Coast of Florida, but more north, like I would say Jupiter or even, above the Palm Beach?
I think it's a great place. We have had clients come and look in Fort Lauderdale and look in Boca, and they felt it was too crowded. We had a guy that he was in business in New Jersey, and he rented a place from us on the beach in Highland Beach, which is a little town north of Boca Raton. And so we're like, so what do you think? He's like, I like it, but it's too commercial. And so he used this term that we use all the time now. He goes, I want to be toes in the sand. That's going to be more Hope Sound, more Jupiter. It's a little chiller. It would be like Fort Lauderdale was when I grew up. Fort Lauderdale was really a beach town. I know it's hard to imagine now, but it really was. And so Jupiter, all the way up the coast, the development's just going to keep pushing further and further north. It was in Miami, then it went to Fort Lauderdale, then it went to Pompano Beach, it went to Boca, and it's going to continue going up. And there's a great value right now in Vero Beach, and Element is moving up to all those areas right now, up to Vero, getting offices up there. So there's great value. It's not maybe as glitzy as here, but some people
don't like.
They don't want glitzy.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want quiet. So you can't go wrong in new development right now in Florida. In Pompano, they're building a Ritz-Carlton residences in Pompano Beach, which is like the quintessential small Florida town left. And it's going to be 30 stories, and you can get one bedrooms for like $750,000. The minute I heard that, I got on the phone with my investor clients and says, you have to start buying these pre-construction. And it's the best time to buy new development is pre-construction before the building's built. Might take a little faith, but that's the best time to buy it.
Well, that will definitely increase the value of everything else around in Pompano.
100% correct. Yeah.
Well, John, you have a successful story and history. And I would love to find out, what's the bottom line of your success?
My mindset. Life is all up here. Yes, there's buildings around, but your life all begins up here. Life, I tell people all the time, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. Think about that. It's all about how we react to things in life. So when I say my mindset, I work a lot on my mind and on my physical health. Anyone that knows me well knows I'm an exercise lunatic. I ride a road bike 20 to 30 miles a day, every day. My kids, my one son, Johnny, he got into riding also. So I read a book years ago. It was called The Tools of Titans. I think the author was Tim Ferriss, but it was almost like a modern day Think and Grow Rich. He went around and he interviewed very successful people in all forms of life and in business. And the one thing that came out over and over was successful people, they have rituals. They have certain things they do. Now, I've done this for a long time, but it's expanded a lot. So when I wake up in the morning, I said to you earlier, I used to go straight to my phone. I would go to emails. What happened? I don't do that. I get up early in the morning. My wife's usually sleeping. I have a certain little room that I sit in that's a beautiful view of my swimming pool. And I prepare my mind. How do I do that? I do it through meditation. I do it through praying. I do it through reading. I spend about an hour preparing my mind. And then I get on my road bike and I ride for 20 to 30 miles. I mean, pushing hard. I push. If anyone follows me on Instagram, they know that I'll do videos where I'm soaking wet after riding. And the reason I share that with you and tie it back to success is before most people are awake, I've spent an hour on my mind. I've spent an hour, probably an hour and a half on my body. I am raring to go right out of the gate. And I think that's a big, big key to my success is my mindset. I'm very blessed. And if you look on my Instagram, it says, I'm living a life of gratitude. I'm truly living a life of gratitude. I said this earlier, but God has blessed me beyond anything I ever could have imagined. So I think a lot of my success comes from my mindset, my personality, the serving others that we spoke about early. My wife, Lisa, is a major part of my life. She's my best friend. We've been married for 35 years. We celebrated it. And so I'm so excited about that. And the other thing I'll just throw in real quickly, the company I work for, it's also a big, it's a major part. The management, Jay Parker, Scott Durkin, Gus Rubio, Howard, they're just phenomenal. And that's really enabled Lisa and I to become extremely successful in this business. But my mindset for sure, number one attribute I would have is my mindset.
On my Instagram, I also have one icon. It says, life is beautiful. And I have a whole series of videos with great sunrise or sunset. It depends where I am. And just beautiful moments. And life is beautiful. We just have to appreciate. Like you said, we are blessed to be here and to enjoy life. So it's
Lisa's not a morning person. I am, but this sounds funny, but I literally, most mornings, everyone's like, you're never in a bad mood. That's wrong. I'm a normal person. I get in bad moods. But literally, most mornings, I'll wake up with a smile on my face. Like I wake up and I think about what's going to happen in my day, like I told you about the interview today. And I think that just, people feel that. Sonata, when I first met her, she was so helpful to Lisa and I, another part of my success, but she said something. She goes, you guys, you have it. You can't develop it. You have it. You have this energy. You have this positivity about you that it just comes out of you. And again, I think that goes back to that relationship builder, always putting the client first. So that's what I'd attribute to.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Jan?
Thanks.
Jan, how would you like to share your suggestion, recommendation, advice with someone who just entered the real estate industry or someone who is in real estate industry but is just struggling or maybe they're having some challenges? What can you address to them?
First, I say this all the time to people. If I came back again, I would finish high school. I would not go to college. I would get my real estate license. I'd live with my parents for 2 or 3. I give this advice all the time. I'd live with my parents for 2 to 3 years because I know I'm not going to make any money for the first 3 years in real estate. And then probably if I did a good job at that, I'd never have to worry about money my entire life. So I would say if you're into the business, get in early. I think the company you're with is very, very important. I think that you also have to have a plan in place, plan in that financially. Like it used to be, they used to tell someone we weren't going to make money for 1 year. You weren't going to make money for 2 years. It's been 5 years since I've been in this business. Now, I've been very fortunate and blessed by God for the success that we've had. But a lot of people see that. They're like, wow, you're killing it. Well, yeah, that was a lot of time invested for 5 years. You didn't see us and running to New York and traveling all over the place to meet people. But I would say that one, the ritual thing I just went over you, work on your attitude. You got to have a positive attitude. Even if you've been in the business a long time, start to educate yourself, read, get involved, get out. In real estate, you must be active. What I mean when I say that is go to open houses, go to events, go to new development parties, and just walk in the room and start to introduce yourself and interact. You're not going to be successful being comfortable. Not going to happen. I told you I did public speaking a lot. I told you at times I would almost feel like people would be like, oh my God, you were so natural. Really? I felt like I was going to throw up the whole time I was up there. But I tell you, you have to push yourself. You have to get out of your comfort zone. If you're nervous about getting up to people, start talking to people. You'll realize it's not that big of a deal. And the other advice I would give is don't worry. Don't worry and stress. Yes, it's a new business. There's a lot to it. Look, I'm not a contract person. Lisa's the contract person. I'm not. I'm more of like the outgoing. Lisa calls me a social butterfly, whatever you want to call me. But I'm not a contract person. But don't stress and worry. If you stay hard and you keep working, it'll work out. I'll leave you with this. I've told people this forever because there's nothing good in worry. There's nothing good in fear. You're not going to gain anything. It's a negative energy.
Being jealous or being upset about something and just dwell on it. That is so negative.
No, I'm so happy to see other people succeed. It's not even funny. I love people, as I've just told you. But the one thing is I tell people, don't worry. So if you take a shoebox, if you will, and you get pieces of paper and you write everything you're worrying about that day, whether it's your finances, your wife, work, write down, and you fold it and you put it in the box. Do that for 30 days straight. I don't know you that well. We're getting to know each other better. Take that shoebox, empty it on the bed, and go through all those worries. I'll guarantee you that 95% of the things you worried about never came to fruition. So it's not worth it. It's negative. Work hard, great attitude, network, 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 and you're going to do great.
I just absolutely love it because I strongly believe in the same. I believe in relationship. I believe in networking. Yeah. I believe in passion, in helping people. And even when we had our own company, sometimes our revenue was not as good, but I felt so good that I helped so many agents to get up to speed and to be successful.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much, John. And it's time to wrap up. So here we go. Lucy Edwards, Director of Client Success at VHT Studios. And today we had a great interview with John Wilson from Douglas Elliman Boca Raton office. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Lucy. It was really a pleasure.
Have a great day. Cheers.